Good evening. Welcome to the Republican debate for the 5th Congressional District. We have a good evening in store for you. We've got 5 candidates here for you tonight, and we're going to get started right away. We've got a 2-minute opening remarks and 2-minute closing, and then we'll have questions in between. So first, I'd like to say that Jimmy Crumpacker was our first in the draw tonight. So Mr. Crumpacker, you have 2 minutes to tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm Jimmy Crumpacker. I'm a 7th-generation Oregonian. I studied government at Georgetown University, where I had the great honor of interning for Gordon Smith. I was going to go right into government at that point in my life, but a very smart woman told me government officials don't know anything about the economy. They don't know anything about creating jobs. She said, go into business first. So I went into the investment business and worked trying to make the United States energy independent. I did that for 13 years on Wall Street. I moved back to Oregon 10 years ago. And the first thing I did was get very involved in the community. I worked for Meals on Wheels. I delivered meals, over 5,000 meals over a 6-year period, and sat on their board. I was very proud that we delivered nearly 1.3 million meals every year I was on the board. I was also involved in a major arts organization that was close to bankruptcy and helped save 250 full and part-time jobs. I also worked, I was also on the board of another arts or organization that was heavily involved in the tourist business and was very proud of that work. I was born and raised in this 5th Congressional District, as was my grandfather, as were my parents. And I think it's important that whoever represents the 5th District actually live in the 5th District. And I read the Oregonian article on Saturday where my opponent, Lori Chavez-DeRemer, unfortunately lives in the 3rd District. And I care so deeply about this state, this district, and it's important. My roots don't allow me to go anywhere else. I'm very proud to run. I'm also proud that I was endorsed by Oregon Right to Life, and I look forward to sharing my ideas with you tonight. I'm Jimmy Crumpacker, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Jimmy Crumpacker, thank you. Second, Laurel Roses. Laurel,
Hello.
2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting this. I am enjoying this whole process. When people ask me, why am I running for Congress? I say, I don't consider that I'm running for Congress. I consider that we are running for Congress. District 5 is choosing someone to go to Washington, D.C. to represent them, to represent their small businesses, their farms, their timber industry. And I was born and raised in Oregon, born and raised in Clackamas County. My husband and I have 6 children that we also raised in rural Clackamas County. And I live in the small community of Malino. Malala is the closest town to us. I coach the boys tennis team at Malala High School, have been doing that for 19 years. I am also a proficient piano player, and I teach piano lessons to kids in my community, trying to pass on that gift and that love and that talent to them. I am very actively involved in so many boards and committees and things over the life of raising my children that now that they're grown and gone and have lives of their own, I feel like it's time for me to step it up. Evil prevails when good people do nothing, and I am a good person, and it's time for me to do something. I firmly believe in, I am very pro-life. I believe in the sanctity of life, and I have a difficult time voting for anyone who would be pro-abortion. And I have discovered that Lori DeRemer is pro-abortion, or she at least worked at an abortion clinic, and I cannot throw my support behind them. But for anyone who lives in District 5 who is pro-life and conservative has my support. Thank you.
Laurel Roses, thank you. Number 3, Madison Oatman, 2 minutes.
Hey Lee, thanks for having me. My name is Madison Oatman. I'm running for Congress because I believe that our individual freedoms given to us by God are being threatened every day by the politicians in Washington, D.C. I'm a construction worker. I was born in Bend, St. Charles Hospital, raised in Oregon, went to school, don't have any governmental, political background or experience. I just believe that we need people, and especially the younger generation, to stand up and start taking care of the government, so to speak. We've had too many people in office for too long. We've had people in there for longer than I've been alive. We need term limits. We need to set those standards for whoever runs for office. And we need to get rid of the career politicians and get a younger generation in there so we can start learning how to handle our government and take care of business. We need to be energy independent. We need to get a handle on our economy, get people back to work, curb inflation, all those things that are big issues right now. There are a ton of issues to talk about, obviously, but I am pro-Second Amendment. I'm pro-life. Every life matters, no matter who you are. And I believe that those are things that are going to come up, and they're going to be a hard fight to fight. And we need to stand up for our beliefs, and it's time for the younger generation to do their part. Thank you.
Thank you, Madison Oatman. Number 4, Lori Chavez de Reamer. Lori?
Thank you, Lee, for having us here today. I appreciate it. We can tell it's a primary season, can't we? I'm Lori Chavez de Reamer. I've lived in Happy Valley since 2000. I've raised my children there, twin girls who are now 27 years old. Started a business there in 2005 where we've grown from 5 employees to 150 employees. I was the elected mayor of Happy Valley in 2010 to 2018, where I really know what it's like to own a business, put your kids through school, worry about the everyday effects that sometimes legislation can have on us. As mayor, I made sure that we did balance the city budget, put millions of dollars in reserves, all at one of the lowest tax rates in the state. Made sure to honor our veterans. Why that's important, it might seem ceremonial, but when we're fighting for the freedoms in this country, I think it's something to recognize how valuable our veterans are. Fully funded police services throughout my time as mayor and made sure that we have safety on our streets. In Congress, I think it's important that we address a parent's Bill of Rights and get the political agenda out of the classroom and make sure that parents have a voice in the classroom. Legal immigration is important to me and my family. Where my heritage comes from, Chavez, and I think it's important that we close that southern border and pay attention to who's coming into our country. And again, when we're talking about America First policies and what's going to affect everyday Oregonians and affect the 5th District, I think America First policies are important. So while I appreciate the recognition by my fellow opponents that I don't live in the district, I'm not going to let a Democrat carve me out of where I've served for 22 years because I'm the strongest candidate in this race. So I appreciate that recognition by them, but a formidable opponent, I think, is when they want to trash my record, it's because I'm the strongest candidate in this race. So thank you for being here, and I look forward to answering more questions.
All right, thank you, Lori. Now, Dr. John DePaula.
Hi, Lee. Thanks for having us today. My name's John DePaula, and I am the grandson of Italian-American immigrants, and I was raised in a blue-collar family where my parents, neither one of them had a high school education, so we had a lot of hard work in our house. We had several jobs going to support us. I'm a Christian. I'm not a career politician. I'm a citizen like everyone else out there. I worked my way through medical school, and then during my career, I served the working population of Oregon, treating injured workers for 20 years. The thing that made me want to run is in July of 2020, I retired after a 40-year career in orthopedic surgery, and I thought, well, now's the time I'm going to relax and enjoy what I call the American franchise, which is life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, protected by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and the fact that all of us have a vote. And that's how, over the course of our history, we have protected the people, the citizens of the United States. And in the past few years, this American franchise has been under attack, and I was very shocked and sort of stunned by how quickly things were being broken down. And I remember sitting one day in my living room and I was reading, and it just kind of overwhelmed me, and I just thought, well, who are we going to send to Washington? Who's going to go take care of this for us? And I said, well, I am. I'm here. Send me. I'll go. And so here I am running for Congress, and I look forward to the debate today and look forward to the rest of the campaign. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. We've met all 5 of our candidates now, so let's get to the questioning portion of tonight's program. Our first question, candidates, everybody has equal amount of time to answer these questions. You all get the same question. We'll start with Mr. Crumpacker. Since redistricting now, the 5th District will stretch all the way from Klamath County into parts of Deschutes County. That leads us to this question. A lot of people in Central Oregon feel neglected by politicians who cater mainly to west of the Cascade Mountains and not to the eastern portion. What challenges will you have then if elected?
It's a great question. I live right here in Bend, and I've also lived in the Valley, so I understand that there's a back and forth. I think that we can all agree that getting our national forests back under state control would be a huge issue for us in the federal government. And clearly inflation is something that affects everyone everywhere. Regardless of where you are, $5 a gallon gasoline, that's killing people. We're talking about average families of 4, basically spending $300–400 a month more than they did a year ago. And that has direct consequences on people's bottom line. We also need to stop the forest fires. The air quality index in Bend was the worst in the world last summer. What that does is it affects our older citizens, our pregnant, the pregnant women especially, and it really affects tourism across both in the Valley and in Bend. My job in Congress would be to get the forest back under state control. 53% of the state is managed by the federal government. That's 32 million acres. We need to open up the forests again, get our timber jobs back. That would be a huge priority. And then with inflation, we need to get spending under control. Spending is out of control with 8% inflation at a 40-year high. And having someone who understands balance sheets, who understands economic principles is going to be critical in this race. So I think there are issues that affect both Deschutes County and the Valley equally, but I'll work as hard as I can for whatever those issues are, and I look forward to representing the 5th District. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Crumpacker. Laura Rosa, same question. Some in Central Oregon feel neglected by politicians who represent the western side of the state. What challenges will you have if elected?
Okay, I am a proud member of Oregon Natural Resources Industries, which used to be Timber Unity. They expanded to help support and cover more than just the timber industry, but also mining, farming, trucking. My husband and I own a small trucking company, so we know anyone who works in that industry or who relies on trucking in order to get the goods even to the grocery store will realize that there's kind of a supply chain breakdown right now. There's a lack of truck drivers, and that hurts Central Oregon as much as it hurts my neck of the woods, Molalla. It's difficult to reach out to people in Central Oregon, but I belong to a Facebook group called Rural Oregon Patriots and Central Oregon Patriots, and I am on there chatting with people a lot. There's a lot of citizens in this area who are worried about the, opening up the grazing lands to bike paths and hiking paths, and they feel like people don't understand that you cannot mix wild grazing cattle with weekend mountain bikers. And they're worried about losing their grazing rights. They're worried about the water threshold continues to drop. They are worried about the quality of education for their children as money continues to be filtered into the bigger school districts. And so because I have aligned myself with certain rural community organizations, I have access to people who are living in Central Oregon and living daily with the issues that are facing them.
Laurel Roses, thank you. Number 3, Madison Oatman, same question. Some in Central Oregon feel neglected by politicians who represent the western side of the state. What challenges will you have if elected?
Well, being from Bend, a lot of our constituents here in Deschutes County feel neglected because most of the time we feel like Portland and the western side of the state gets to decide basically how Oregon runs from politics. From that standpoint, we need to actually get somebody in office who is from the eastern side of the state, not just the entire eastern side, but we need to get somebody in there who knows and understands Central Oregon and what our daily faces are. We're one of the fastest growing cities in the nation right now here in Bend. People are coming in here all the time. We are facing a lot of homeless crisis, same as the valley side, the western side of the state. That's something that's going to be a huge issue for our constituents. How are we going to curb that homeless situation? How do we combat that? And works for both sides of the state, whether it's western or eastern side. We need to curb inflation. Paying $5 a gallon, like Jimmy said, is just it's out of control. We need to quit the spending. We need to get people back to work, and that's going to be for the entire state. So here in Central Oregon, we're facing a lot of those things that everybody faces, but we feel like we don't get a say in how our state is run. And this is going to be the time that we have an option, and we can hopefully change that to where we have a voice in office that can help Central Oregon.
Very good. Thank you, Madison Oatman. Now, number 4 is Lori Chavez DeReamer.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important to recognize as a mayor we've faced some of these difficulties. I grew up in a small community in rural California that faced a lot of these agricultural issues. You know, when you're up against growth boundary issues and you have maybe a shortage of houses, and then the homeless crisis comes in, and we're not being able to balance those economic pressures with building more rural lands, urban lands, and how do we balance that? And as a mayor, we bring people together, and I think that that's the goal. One of the issues facing Central Oregon is the housing crisis, right? We don't have enough homes in this part of the state to be able to fulfill the need. That's one issue. And when that comes regulation and over-regulation, when the cost of a home, we can't have our young people living out here, our teachers, our firefighters, and our service people who are part of the fabric of our community. And I think a mayor would recognize that. Also, the water issue. When we talk about small farms here, 1 to 5 acres, and recognize the irrigation districts that are battling over the shortage of water, I think that can become a real economic pressure as well when we're having to fully fund those issues in order to feed the world, right? We feed a lot of part of the country right here from Central Oregon, and I think that's something to be recognized and balance that as well. The timber industry was mentioned, and how we forest completely, and I say completely by recognizing all sides, right? We do have to pay attention to the environment, but we have the most natural resource in this state that is valued, and that is what we're known for, and we need to log properly, and we need to open up those economic vaults to get back to the timber industry to make money so we can provide for our schools and our families. And lastly, the homeless crisis, which I think has been a big issue, and my goal, being from Happy Valley, right on the border of Multnomah County, to be able to stop that homelessness crisis that has trickled into the suburbs and stop it here. And only a mayor can recognize what that means and how to fight for those. So thank you.
All right. John DePaula.
I think the 2 big issues that can be addressed from Washington, D.C. would be, number 1, our economy and inflation. We need to rebuild our supply chains. We need to restore our energy infrastructure. We need to restore the friendly atmosphere for small businesses so that they may succeed. Most of our jobs and revenue come from entrepreneurs starting small businesses, and so Bend needs to reclaim its small business community. I think the other issue is the border. A lot of the problems that face Bend and face the western side of the valley come from a common problem. There are drugs coming across the border. There are people being trafficked across the border. We have problems with trafficked people that are coming up I-5 and coming up Route 97. They're affecting both sides of the district. I think that if we control the border, we can control those situations. One of the problems I think that's occurring in Bend that's not being handled appropriately is that homelessness is not a housing problem, it's a rehabilitation problem. Most of the people that are recalcitrant homeless have either mental illness or drug addiction. And you can't just take those people off the street and put them in a different house because you're not addressing the underlying issues. There are people that have financial problems which would be more easily handled just by giving them housing and support. So I think the federal government can provide logistic support to help the municipalities in Central Oregon to get a handle on the homeless crisis.
All right. John DePaula, thank you very much. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and finish this after these messages.
Hey, neighbors! I can't wait for you guys to see the new floors.
Charlie, why is your house full of smoke?
Oh, that's not smoke. That's just carcinogenic dust from the tile removal. Don't worry. I got masks for you, too.
Don't fill your home with carcinogenic tile dust when it's time to upgrade your flooring. Go to dustfreellc.com to learn more about our patented 99% dust-free process. Now taking appointments in Central Oregon.
Are you or do you know someone that would benefit from a professional career in the financial industry? I'm Bill Anderson, CEO of Mid-Oregon Credit Union. I invite you to consider a career with us. We offer competitive pay and benefits, advancement opportunities, regular weekday working hours, and a chance to make a difference. Our primary requirements are reliability, a positive attitude, and desire to help people. Check out our openings and apply at midoregon.com/careers.
Serving Central Oregon since 1957. Mid-Oregon Credit Union. Good friends, great service.
A Redmond mother is asking for your help to make her son's birthday a special one. So she's asking you to send Brandon birthday cards. Brandon got gifts and more than 550 letters ahead of his birthday. And for that, they wanted to say thank you.
Can you say thank you? Blow on the kiss.
News Channel 21. News that's here for you when you need it most.
The pure vocal talent on American Song Contest is simply irresistible. Watch and vote live.
I love a good competition.
American Song Contest, live tonight on NBC.
Every day I think, today's the day that Toby and I aren't going to fight.
You guys are going to make it through this.
Jack?
What's wrong? We can't find Jack. He's not anywhere. Jack!
This Is Us, the final chapter, Tuesday night, 8 Central on NBC.
Okay, welcome back, folks. This is the 5th Congressional District debate for the Republican Party. We've got 5 candidates here. We'll continue with question number 2. Some of you addressed that a little bit. This is more specific. We'll start with Jimmy Crumpacker. What can be done at a federal level to help resolve our homelessness crisis?
It's a great question, Lee. I look at the timber industry as an answer for that. Both my grandfathers were in the timber industry. When I was a kid, there were 85,000 timber workers. I remember Bend was a great timber town. Just east of here in Crook County, they had 5 major timber plants. Now we're down to 25,000 timber workers. When I was a kid, we used to have 5 billion board feet of timber were produced every year in the state of Oregon. We're down to 2.5 billion board feet now. That's a huge opportunity. We used to get 50% of our timber from the federally managed lands. As I said before, that's 32 million acres, or 53% of the state of Oregon. We need to get back in there, because now we're losing about 1 million acres a year. What I look at the homelessness issue, I think it's 2 parts. I think there's lack of opportunity with blue-collar jobs. We lost 60,000 blue-collar jobs. And then the other side of that is the drug and alcohol abuse rate. Unfortunately, Oregon has a top 5 drug and alcohol abuse rate, but a lot of that comes down to opportunity. And if we can get back in the woods like we were when I was a kid, so many jobs would open up. There's a huge opportunity. I look at us like it's like the state of Texas stopping to if they stop drilling for oil, that's like what we did to our timber industry. The federal government basically used to allow 50% of the timber came from their lands. That number is now down below 10%. To me, that's just criminal. And that would be one of the first things I would do in Congress. Thank you.
All right. Same question to you, Laurel Roses.
I feel like on the federal level, if they could get a handle on our southern border, where the low-income workers are coming in and taking those entry-level and lower-skilled jobs, a lot of people are homeless because of the mental health issues brought on quite often from drug abuse and alcohol abuse. And 95% of the fentanyl that comes into our communities, and rural communities are no different. Than my little Malino community has as huge a problem as Portland does. If we could close up our southern border, get it secure, know who's coming, let them be able to come in legally and work the jobs that need to be worked, then I feel like the homeless people would have an opportunity to, first of all, not have access as readily as they do now to the illegal drugs coming in. And secondly, we would be able to get them the resources that they need and be able to start dealing with the mental health issues brought on by the illegal drugs coming in. And then being able to help them get into entry-level jobs, get them into shelter situations where they can ask for help or receive the rehabilitation that they need, and that they can get a handle on what their future can look like. It can be bright, it can be good, but we have got to be able to close our porous southern border in order to have the resources available for our own citizens who need it first, American citizens first.
All right, same question to you, Madison Oatman.
Well, Lee, like Laurel said, we need to get the southern border under control, quit having drugs come over the southern border. That affects quite a few people, especially here in just Central Oregon alone. We had one of the biggest cocaine busts here on 97 not too long ago. We just need to keep drugs from getting into our country from the southern border and other countries. That'll help a lot. And then, like John was talking about, a lot of those are mental health issues that happen. We need to be able to support those mental health issues, get those people the help they need, and get them off the streets. And that'll go a long way to helping our homeless situation, as well as getting jobs back to America, small business jobs. We need to make it easier for businesses to operate within America, and that'll help get jobs back to the American people. Having, frankly, other companies and corporations going out of country to produce and manufacture and do those things, that takes away a lot of jobs from not only American citizens, but any illegal immigrants that come in and steal those jobs from Americans, and immigrants that came in legally. They come in here and they don't appreciate that either. So we need to help get jobs back to America and get the people back to work, and that'll help a lot with the homeless issue as well.
All right, thank you, sir. Lori Chavez de Reamer.
Thank you. It's multifaceted, and I think that that's what we're seeing, right? When we're talking about, when we do the counts every year about the homelessness crisis and where they're infiltrating, what we find is that most homeless people will tend to stay in their communities that they were raised. But what we're seeing now with the lack of leadership and the lack of and the tolerance level, we start to get homelessness from all other communities who infiltrate, and other states and other countries, because of that tolerance level. So when we do those counts and we put them in the homeless people who are vulnerable, right? There's people who are down and out with their spouses and families and kids living on the streets. That isn't something we would want in any compassionate way for our fellow community members, right? And those are the people that we can direct direct, who are down and out, get them back into the workforce, get them a temporary place to live until they can get back in the market. And then there is possible single women, right, who don't have the support from a family group or support, and they're having young children, and how we separate those. That's another group. And then we have the drug addiction, where they really need the help of multifaceted agencies in our communities to say, how can we help these community members get off the streets? One, we have to get them into treatments, and we have to stop the drug flow that's in, because we're slowly killing the people on the streets, and it isn't compassionate at all. And then there's the criminal activity, where we have to be a law and order community, a law and order state, to not tolerate what we're seeing on the streets. We can put our veterans and we can work with those agencies, but we have to start to limit from the federal government where that funding goes, and not cross over those where we cross agencies who are doing double duty, and we're not solving the problem. And people, quite frankly, are frustrated.